Hello everyone, Michelle here from the Creative Cove. Thanks for joining me today. Today's a video on using up these inserts. So I've kind of done a journal backwards here where I have created some signatures, sewed them to some fabric, and then went ahead and had some fun decorating them. Now I realize I should probably make the covers. So I have some scrap materials and some lace, and I thought I would build those with you today. So again, new to lace journal covers for me, new to using lace really this year. I've collected quite a bit in the last couple of years, and it's just kind of sitting there, so I've promised myself to use it up. I did a video at the beginning of January on my very first lace journal cover. I learned some. I still have much to learn, but I really have fun layering this lace, almost like a quilt, but without the stress of lining up corners. I'm not a very good sewer. If you've followed me for a while now, you'll know that about me. So this time I decided to use a little heat bond tape to see if it would help me sew straight. And for the most part it did, but I still can't sew straight. Even when it's glued down, I still sew it crooked, but that's okay. It's part of the charm and a part of the learning process. And the more you do something, the better you're going to get at it. So I just persevere. So here I am just layering all kinds of different laces down and just kind of building up on this piece of fabric. Now this piece of fabric should be big enough to cover both journals. So I'm going to concentrate on building the first one to start. And it turns out I used two different methods in this video. I just filmed the first method, which I should say there's quite a bit of room for improvement on that. I have the same technique I did with the very first lace journal video that I released. And then the second journal I made off camera, journal cover, was much more successful, and I ended up doing it a different way, which I'll show you in the end. I'll do a flip through of both if you stick around long enough. It's about a half an hour video, so not too bad. I do fast forward it just because it's a bit monotonous in some spots. But I thought you could follow along with me, maybe grab your goodies and have some sewing fun and maybe get inspired by this video. So as you can see, I'm still just figuring out my layout. I don't have anything too much in mind. I just know that I want to play with the neutrals, and then I have a little watercolor painting that I did that I want as the cover. One thing I don't like about this specific journal cover that I did is it's very flimsy. I should have either added a cotton batting to it or some cardstock, but it's just my preference, just my taste of what I like and don't like. So this soft cover might appeal to you. So if you want to just follow along and see what I do here, and hopefully you learn from my mistakes. So here's the heat bond going down. It's two-sided, so you glue it to the fabric with an iron, and then when it cools, you peel the backing off and then melt the other side to your other fabric, which in this case is lace. So I've done some editing here, so you don't have to watch every piece getting glued down. I also use pins because I need all the help I can to get these sewn straight. And I really enjoy the heat bond. It helped a lot, actually. And it also kind of slowed me down a little bit, trying to figure out the design I wanted. So just heat bond these two big lace pieces while I'm playing with my layout. So now I just peel the backing of the heat bond off, and I will put the lace on top and melt those two pieces onto the fabric, and that way when I pin everything else down, I go to sew it, it should be straight, fingers crossed. Okay, so I'm just heat bonding the bottom piece there, and I'm just going to lay out some more of the lace that I picked, if I can remember how I had it down. I can't remember, so I'll probably just relay it all different again. I do apologize for it being out of frame. I didn't realize it was so crooked when I put the little mini ironing board underneath the camera. Wasn't really paying attention. And of course it moved it closer to the camera, so it's even shorter now, so I do apologize for that, but hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to lay it all out again and then pin it, and then I will sew those bits together. So apparently my camera was not filming when I did this last little bit, but I just go ahead and layer some more down and sew them down, the little fringe that actually sits at the bottom. And now I am trying to embellish with a little bit more interest and texture. Later I end up sewing this crooked, of course, so I go over it again and I just keep going back and forth trying to figure out some layouts that I like. Now, lace is pretty new to me. I've done one journal cover with lace, so this is my second attempt. I really do love playing with it, though. I really think it has some charm and some textures and has a really romantic vibe about it, which is something I wanted to try. And I have a really pretty watercolor painting that I want to put on the cover of this, which I think is kind of the inspiration behind using the lace. So here I pulled out a selection of different colored pink laces because the watercolor's pink. And I'm trying to find a wide enough one to cover how crooked I sewed that initial thin little piece. So I'm going to use some heat bond this time. Hopefully that will help me stay straight. Some of these fabrics have a bit of a stretch to them, so they are a bit hard to sew straight. This heat bond has helped a lot. I don't know if I would use strips of heat bond again. I might try just a roll of it, like a wider piece. I'm not sure. I think I'm also going to try a different way of covering a journal and cover, building a journal cover, sorry. Something a little bit more simplified, I think, is what I need as far as the overall construction. Layering the lace is fun. I really enjoy that part, but the finished sewn edges of the lace just don't look quite as professional as I like. And this one ends up being quite soft, so I don't love it. And then at the end of this, well, towards the end of the video, I show you another one with a different procedure that I much prefer. So now I'm going to add down the center of the journal, the focal point of the journal. I want to try and figure out what else the journal cover might need, if I want to add something to the back, how I'm going to do the closure. So if you're interested in how I did this little watercolor cover, let me know. I'll be happy to show you. I did post a kind of simplified version. This one's just a touch more elaborate. But it's simple enough that you can paint them quite quickly on scrap watercolor, and I think they're quite effective for a focal point. So I'm just going to play with some ribbons here for the next little while and build my closure. I'm going to take an assortment of ribbons. I want something very loose and quite feminine looking to tie the journal up. And I just finished sewing all that down. I think I got it relatively straight this time. So I'm just rolling over the fabric here to see how big and where to cut the excess off. So of course you can take your time, which I would recommend taking your time, measuring it out, cutting it straight. It's just not the way I craft. So if some of you are cringing right now that this has gone crooked or it's too small, I apologize. It's just the way I work. It works best for me. So now I know where the cover is going to sit, where my focal point will be, and I'll start pinning things in place, trying to figure out where I want things. Do I want to cover with more lace? I have this piece that goes around. I'm trying to figure out all the different bits and bobs. So one thing I did struggle with was where the actual binding would be, where the spine of the journal will start. That way I just put a pin in there and it kind of gives me a visual of the center of the front of the book, if that makes sense at all. And then I'm just going to decorate it with more lace. So I want to start adding a little bit more texture in here. I have this doily that I've had for a long time. It's crocheted, I believe. It may be antique, I don't know. I don't think it is, but I struggle with using things that are round. I don't like circles much. I have a hard time using them, incorporating them into my design, something I want to work on this year. So in this case, instead of using the whole piece, I just cut a piece off and introduced that texture. Okay, so I've sewn it all down here, and now we'll figure out how I'm going to put the insert in as neatly as possible. This is going to be a bit challenging in the sense of finishing it off to a point where it looks a little bit more professional. This is why I don't like this style of journal cover, in the sense that I'd rather have something much more polished around the edges and on the insert. But again, we all learn as we go. So I do like the overall finished journal in the end. I just wanted to work on some techniques that maybe look a little bit more professional. So I'm just going to use a 3-in-1 here and glue that scrap fabric down to my cover, which is going to hold in the signatures. So just did a little tidy up there, and now I'm going to start playing with some fabrics on how I want to cover this background. This is what I mean by making it neat. Because I don't sew neat or straight for that matter, I struggle with trying to get a nice clean edge on the inside. So I'm going to play with some fabrics here and then maybe build a pocket, belly band, something inside, maybe just leave it plain, and we'll see where it takes us. So I decided to use some glue instead of sewing. I can't sew this straight at all. And it was really difficult trying to feed that fat book through the machine. So the lesson learned on that. Here's a little piece that I'm just going to glue in to try and hide that raw edge. Again, this is the polished off, finished look that I'm after. I want something neat and tidy in the end. So this is it all finished. And there's things I love about it. I love the feel of it. I don't like the raw edge at the top. That's something I would maybe put some seam binding on. I also feel that maybe I made it a little too long because it is a little flimsy feeling. I would prefer something a little thicker. I snipped all the edges. I've double stitched back and forth on the edge so that the nothing frays and comes off. And then we'll do the journal for this one. So I didn't record the process for this. I'm just going to show you the journal in the end. So we'll do a little flip through here so you can see the pages, just for something fun. So that's the simplified watercolor that I backed on paper and fabric. I really love the look at those. I really enjoy painting those as well. I managed to put some of that gold in that I hummed and hawed about earlier. And I really wanted some gold and a little bit of bling, but the silver was a bit too much. So here's that edge. I'm just pointing out how the glue comes through, which is why I prefer to sew on fabric, but because I can't sew straight, I went with the glue. So it does bleed through, something to bear in mind. So I'll just let the flip through happen here. Hope you enjoy. So this is the second one I made off camera. So this one I did with a cardstock in between sandwiched fabrics. So basically the same procedure, only this time I used a piece of cardstock for the spine and the front and back and glued those in and sewed around. And I just feel that I managed to get a much straighter, more sturdier book, which I prefer. So it's not rigid, it's still a soft cover, but it is a little bit stronger. So you can see here some of the pages I sewed in. When I sewed them crooked. I can't seem to get away from sewing not crooked. But that's just part of my journals, I guess. I'm assuming I'll only improve as I go. But sewing is not my forte, as I've said before. But I do like these pieces sewn in, so I'm just doing a flip through here so you can see the two books are very similar. But I really love them. What I do love about sewing in signatures is how you can stagger the pages. I love to go through a page, through a signature, and then be able to see layers of papers behind it. There's just something about that I really love. So I hope you liked today's video. I know it was a bit on the long side. There is a lot of do's and don'ts in this video. I could have edited it, but I wanted you to see that it's a procedure. It's a learning curve for everyone when you're making a journal, whether it's your first or your thousandth. You're always learning something new. The end result, I'm pretty pleased with. A lot of learning curves in these two journals, but I'm quite pleased with them. I hope you enjoyed the video. I also added on the side some little embellishments, which I have shown how to make in the past. I'll try and remember to link that video. I want to thank you all for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope it encourages you to make some of your own. Take care, everyone. Bye.